Let's just start and go around our collective circle and speak our names and um, speak to one word of intention. It just feels like we're in this powerful time of the new year. Like we're still in this bridge time. And this just 1 year of intention for what you're calling for what you're anchoring in.
My name's Wendy, and I am one of the Wendy's. And I am anchoring in compassion.
Hmm.
I'm Nikki Starr, and I'm anchoring in deeper levels of trust.
I'm Loke, and I'm anchoring in wonder.
I'm Kimberly Chenoweth, and I'm anchoring in leap.
I'm Joy, and I'm anchoring in strength.
Wendy, and I'm anchoring in peace.
I'm Leah, and I'm anchoring in clear pathways. All right, let us begin. Let us see what story wants to be, what wants to introduce us to this new year of 2022. So I invite you to close your eyes and to find yourself in a state of restfulness and peace in your body. So I'm just going to invite, we can take a moment with this process. And I'm going to invite tenderness into this moment too. And perhaps there's a place in your body that could use a little bit more compassion, a little bit of it tending to. Maybe you want to place a hand on that place of your body that you're like, okay, let's bring some tenderness to this place as we invite in rest and peacefulness into our bodies. I'm just breathing into that and exhaling. And breathing in. And exhaling. And really inviting in this space of receiving. Receiving as if you could receive through every pore of your body. Receiving as if you could receive from the past all the gifts that you may have stepped over, as if they can come back to meet you in this moment right now. And as if perceiving as if you could even open to the future and create the pathway for those gifts to come to you. I'm calling on all the guides, gods, angels, and archangels, all the beings seen and unseen, known and unknown, who are here to serve each of us on our path. Those who are in this circle in full presence and those who will watch this video afterwards. I'm calling on the land that we were born on and the land that we are living on and all the places that we have walked and swam and flown between. I'm calling on our ancient selves, the ancient parts of our souls, to come forth and be with us today. I'm calling on the 4 elements of earth, fire, water, and air to bring us guidance, to bring us insight, to bring us in alignment with our true capacity and power, our relationship to life itself. I'm inviting in wisdom, wisdom from the roots, wisdom from the composting process, wisdom from the water that knows how to flow and when to dam. I'm calling on our future selves, the parts that are living and that have already lived and will live yet again in some other time. That if there is insight, guidance, and support that wants to be spoken to us from this place, may it be revealed in a way that we can easily understand. And I'm calling on the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west, to bring forth all of the guidance and insight and wisdom that is available to us on this day. Setting the clear intention that we're inviting in a story that will help us enter into this new time of 2022, that will help guide us and across this threshold, that will easily reveal to us what is ready to be left behind and what is ready to be received and gained as we cross this threshold. I set the clear intention that we receive any tools, medicines, techniques, methodologies, anything that will support us as we make this transition. And if it is in our service to see what is on the other side, what is waiting for us, and then may we have the boldness and courage to see what we are able to see, what will truly serve us in this moment. Make the simple request that the story not only serve each and every one of us receiving the story, but also our families, our friends, our beloveds, our ancestors, and our descendants in all of their forms. We take this prayer, we place it into the storyteller's prayer, which is, may all the words that need to be heard be spoken, and may all the words that need to be spoken be heard. And we take this prayer and we place it into the heart and drop it down through this body, down through the chair, into the floor, all the way down, down, down the very core of this planet, where it plugs in just like a light into the wall. And this very white, clear light is coming straight up, and it's like so white, it's almost blue. And just allowing that to fill your whole system. And it's continuing to ground into Saturn. And it's grounding into, it's a yellow planet. It's saying it's Uranus, Mars, and Jupiter. And with this comes this great purple energy, almost a dragon energy, and allowing that to emerge through your body and up to spirit. As this story that is almost calling upon time itself is preparing to reveal. As a story that's actually asking for the prayer that it serves all of time in all dimensions, forward and backward, even to the side. This story begins underground. It is a hallway, as if that curves and moves and slithers underneath the surface of this land that once lived beneath the ocean, but now bare and exposed to the light of the sun. But we know this truth, we know this backstory from where it comes from. So to understand what lives beneath this land, one must understand that this land once lived beneath an ocean, and above that ocean once lived a great volcano. But that is not now, and that is not then or when, for we are here underneath this land, in this snake that creates a hallway of sorts underneath the land as it slithers and it goes, leaving a path that others can follow, and others are following on the path of this great snake made of purple scales and green scales and yellow scales. She is something to behold. She is beauty out loud, fierceful, courageous, constantly diving and driving ahead through the darkness, making a path for others to follow. There comes this moment when it's clear and quite obvious she's just not Snake. And as the tunnel behind her gets longer and stronger, more and more people continue to follow on this great parade, shoulder to shoulder, feet to feet, snuggled up close. The hallway is not wide, but it is long, and more people keep going down into the depths, leaving the surface, going into the depths of the land of story itself. And soon enough, that hallway is not quite large enough or tall enough or wide enough. And soon enough, it is revealed that our snake is not just a snake. She has feet, and wings. And perhaps is that Pegasus' horn? A shapeshifter, wild being, but stuck in the narrow hallway. For only snake is the one that is brave enough and bold enough to burrow its way through the darkness. So in some ways, it doesn't matter all the things of what she is and isn't and could be, for this is where she is today. No one knows exactly how it happened. No one knows why, or if perhaps the intention and the purpose was always there, just waiting and the same. But this path, which one might have thought would go from here to there, merely led back in one great circle, so that the mouth of this great snake at last met up with its tail. And all that had been following this path of this great, wild, beautiful creature were now inside of its circle. The circle of a story that has no beginning and no ending. The circle of a story whose roots are connected down deep to a place that can't be known or spoken or said, but merely revealed in this moment in your imaginations. And inside the circle of the story, inside the very circle of these people, there is a great gem. And this gem is made of a kind of green gem, dark and whole emerald. And inside of that emerald, there she is. There she is. This one, as you look back at her, she looks back at you, and you see yourself. You see yourself looking out of the emerald in the shape of what you might see as today, or perhaps what you might see is a symbolic expression of your truest essence, looking back at you through the emerald. And as your eyes meet, there's a cracking of this gem, for nothing will be contained any longer. The wisdom of the world is yours on the feet, on the soles of your feet, and you feel it coming up through you, as if wisdom is a color, a knowing, a sense of being. And all of a sudden, in this story that changes shape and form and design faster than we can even perhaps track, all of a sudden you notice that everyone is holding hands. And there is a song. And the song is coming from the very beat of your heart and the very core of your organs, as if they have their own songs and you know them and you sing them out loud. Ay-oh, 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 ay-oh. There is a place between our feet, beneath, deep in the earth. There is a space that has been carved out and is open and is whole. And you know where it came from. You know the story of those beings that carved it out, and you know of their journey. And you know that it is yours to call on and to visit and to receive. This is yours. And so here we are in our 2022 story, one filled with mystery. Where did you find yourself living in this story? What came alive for you?
I couldn't decide whether I was supposed to go there. I mean, the idea of being in a tunnel with lots of people just viscerally wants to make me throw up. And it felt very restricting and dark and scary. And so I couldn't tell, it wasn't quite clear from the story whether everyone was supposed to go there. And I didn't know if my challenge was to figure out how to be able to go there or whether it was to let other people go there. Because I was trying to imagine what drugs I would have to take to be able to do that, to go into that frightening space. I mean, I just can't tell you how frightening that idea would be, or whether I was supposed to somehow get there spiritually, or whether I really wasn't supposed to be there. I was just supposed to be watching.
Thank you.
It's so interesting. I had a very different feeling. In fact, kind of the opposite. I felt so cozy because I wanted to be with people, and it felt the restrictiveness didn't feel like restrictiveness. It felt like expansiveness to me today in this moment. Tomorrow it could feel different, or in any other moment. But right now, just the thought of being so close to people and being, and the holding hands part, and being in a place where we were following this beautiful creature that seemed to know exactly where she was going. And I was all in.
I felt like I was in the beginning stage of the snake's journey. So before she was even, the people started coming. And it's really reflective of the space I'm in. Instead of starting this year with a bang, like launching a course, or I'm like the opposite of like, let me just focus on my current contracts, move them all to like 1 to 2 days a week, and like take time off for healing and go into the muck of the underground and just see what else is ready to clear for the metamorphosis, the continued metamorphosis, really, because like it said, it's like the story that continues over and over and over again. And so I feel like I'm in the winter of, I'm with the cycle of nature at the moment. I'm not in spring. But it felt hopeful for like what's coming. And the interesting thing is I recently was reading a book about one of my mentors, and she talks about snakes becoming dragons and how they're so sacred. And like, do not kill them because they actually inflict blindness in you or your offspring or your loved ones. And if you do kill them. And so it was very interesting. So I was just reading about snakes and her, and she's from China. And so I was like, oh, wow, like there's a snake here. Like, and they're so, you're supposed to just put them in another place, but you never kill them because they are dragons. And so it was like amazing to just see that wisdom kind of here in a sense, how it met him, but this time to a Pegasus. I thought you were going to say a dragon, and I was going to be like, oh my God. But you said maybe it was like a Pegasus. You didn't really say, right? So I thought that was really cool.
I found myself resonating with the moment of she is snake and has feet and has wings, but for now, this is where she is today. That really provided a lot. As far as what we have to draw upon, what I have to draw upon, and that I don't have to use it all at once. Like that, like the feeling of I have all this and like that it should be deployed simultaneously as opposed to deployed situationally, feels like a really welcome invitation. And it speaks to the part of me that's really trying to allow the space and take the time to be called toward things instead of just accepting the things that I can do or that I've done in the past or that I've been well rewarded for, but that feel outgrown at this point, or that there's a different angle to exist with them in, or facet to exist with them in, that would provide something different. And I think, Nikki, I appreciate what you shared about snakes. I happened upon a very large rattlesnake that had passed in some way and was on the side of the street. And I was so committed to moving it out of harm's way, even though it was already outside of that body. And so my friend was like, what are you doing? And I was like, it can't be here. It needs to be in a place where it can rest. And I wasn't sure why I was so compelled to do that, but you gave a different depth to that. how I met that moment. So thank you for that. And even just in the invocation, the notion of inviting tenderness, I think that will stay with me. So just thank you.
That was such a powerful story. I felt alive in all of it, completely and engrossed, embodying and receiving all of the energy that I was able to take in, and it just resonates in so many different dimensions right now as I'm in the midst of this massive kind of leap, and the part of the story, there was so much in the story again that I felt really alive in, but that place that Wendy just referred to, where there's the moving forward happens through a stopping and not being able to move forward and just being in that place, and that so often that is the place of the leaping, the quantum leap, the meeting the longing for where we want to be. And yeah, it's a place that I've been working really closely in my own life and experience just the last few days or so. So that resonated really deeply, as did the emerald and the seeing the self reflected back in and through the emerald. Yeah. Words, right? They're not there yet. So yeah. I guess I could say one other thing that just was so alive is that place in the earth that had been carved out by others who had been there before. And I thought about all of the Inanas and the Ishtars and the Parmenides that that go into the earth and be in touch with the goddess and bring all that wisdom back absolutely intact. That's where that piece took me. So yeah, it was just so incredibly rich. Thank you. Wow.
I went deeply into this and was following through with all of these feelings of going into the depth of the story. And I expected the snake to become a dragon too. And the Pegasus was a surprise. And I love that shapeshifter. And the narrow highway, that she was the only one that could lead the people out of that narrow highway. And the circle of the story with the green gem, that dark green emerald, I saw like a small water snake with a big face that was so kind and gentle that I just wanted to stay there with that. And then the songs and the holding hands and the dance and the circles, I felt this joy and soberness and somberness at the same moment. It was like everyone was connected together to keep the calm for the whole community. And that space beneath our feet, I felt so like this is the place to go to when I feel like I'm just being bombarded with energy from all different places, to go there and shelter myself. That's so far.
It's so sweet to hear we were all living. Was anyone the snake? Did anyone see themselves as the snake? Yeah. That was kind of exciting for me. I don't think I've ever had a snake in a story show up. So talk about new story, new energy. It was like, oh, who's this being? This is kind of fun to have someone new in the field. And something else happened in the prayer, which I'd never seen before, and it was so demanding, where we called on your past, like your soul. We called on the ancestor of your soul and your future self. And that's never happened in a story before. And so I'm always just kind of amazed by once in a while, like once very rarely will like a whole structure of how the story field is created shift, probably like maybe 3 times in my time of doing this has something like very core shifted. And I was like, oh, that's a whole new element that just came into the creation of this space. And also this story was really funny. If you heard me go up, it kept demanding me to do something which I'd never done before, which I'm just learning how to do it. But it was so demanding, where it was really wanting to almost like bless all of time. Like there was something about this story that was very much in relationship to time herself, and it wanted a part of the prayer to be blessing our future and our past. And it wouldn't allow it to start until that was spoken. And I was like, so if you heard that stutter at the beginning, that's what you were hearing. You were hearing this like kind of like almost like a new threshold that the story itself are going through in terms of what they're doing. And so we come with this snake, and she's it's a she, and she's kind of beautiful, and I thought she had dragon scales. I saw her as dragon kind of like right away. She's like presents as a snake, but she's not just any snake, and she's got these scales, and they're purple and they're yellow and they're green. She was really something to beholden, was the language. There was like really something, and she's going through, and it's like you can see like just darkness, like dark. Oh gosh, the beginning was I just love this. It was like it wanted to tell us where the story was and where it wasn't in relationship to the history of it. So we're underneath ground. So in one way, it looks like we're just 4 feet under, but really this is ground that had once been covered by an ocean, that had once been privy to a volcano. But that was then, and this is now. So in some ways, it looks like it's not very deep, but in other ways, in relationship to time itself, it's as deep. It's profound in its depth. So I just really appreciated, there's something in the story that is like, to me, almost embodies the storyteller like as whole, in terms of context and wholeness of seeing something in relationship, not just as it is right now. And I feel like that's a theme that I was heard in a couple of different places. And so to know where you are, and I feel like that's an interesting piece where you could just start with a story. It's like to know where you are in relationship to what's been there before you, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so, and I'm even thinking about, I'm in my own world as that emerges. I'm thinking so much about what it is to be a woman in the world, being able to like make your own path, and in some ways it's really frustrating and challenging and blah, 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 blah. But in other ways, it's a freaking miracle, and every day I try to stop and be like, do you know how many shoulders I'm standing on to have this right and this privilege? Like to have the right and the privilege of choice, and it's like, how could you complain? And when you see that context. And so I'm just, this story to me is holding this, even in this, as we enter into 2022, and as we're looking at the challenges of our time, to see ourselves in this greater context of where are we in relationship to what's been here before. So that's one thing that's sifting through. So we have these people, these beings that are following. Anything else emerge for people as they saw? And it was cramped. I wonder, so I think of constriction. I can't help but think of a birth canal, but it's a small pathway. It wasn't easy to get through, and they're coming, like I could see them coming like out of the, like off the surface of the earth and like following, like, you see like little rodent holes into the earth, and they're following, they're going into the depths, and we have the snake who's just kind of burrowing forward, into this, making a path. Anything else emerge for people in terms of that whole process, or what it feels like if you're making your own path, or if you're following a path, or if you're choosing not to follow a path, or if it's too tight for you, you don't want to be there? Like, yeah, what are you seeing in terms of relationship to how you're living your life, what's happening in our thresholds? We're looking through many lenses of the story, right? How the story is being lived through you, but also we're looking at it as, what is it offering us as we cross this threshold of a new year? What are you seeing? What are you feeling, sensing?
I am more convinced as we discuss it that I'm not down there. Mm-hmm. When you started, it was like, oh, deep time, because deep time always speaks to me. And yet we were so located in the present, but we were so connected to deep time, and we were so connected to future time. And I just feel like I was a watcher, and that was my job there. I definitely was watching the present moment in the context of deep time.
Okay.
I felt like my role was to usher people through and to say, it's going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Let's go. We can do this. And to do what I guess I do as a nurse, support people and heal people and help people and give them the energy to keep going. And that just kind of crystallizes the point for me that we're all here with our special talents and gifts. And this is a time when they are emerging, becoming more clear. We can use this time to become more clear of what our gifts are, that we can contribute to the collective, which they're all so needed right now.
I also looked at that part in relation to my work, and how the way I see it and guide people is the process of becoming really requires us to go into the depths and look at the muck and the shadow and the ugliness and all the things that are like, we don't always want to look at. And, I've had that reflection a lot of like, Nikki will make you look at your shit and you'll have to look at your shit, and I'm just reminded of like, going into these places that are uncomfortable and dark, and we think under the ground is like muddy, and it's not really like rainbows and unicorns down there, but it's like part of the becoming process. And sometimes I think when you have like a guide that's willing to go there, it makes it a little bit easier. Like, oh yeah, let me go there too. And also, like, I think there was something significant to her being like shiny and like something to look at, because it makes it a little more enticing.
I love that perspective. That's great. Right, if I'm going to go to the depths and the mystery and the muck, it better be pretty to follow.
About my Malibu house, I'm like, this is all just to get people to here, so you could be like, oh, she lives in the Malibu house, and it's like, come on, let's go.
I love that. Yeah, it's making me think about what you're going to say, Kimberly?
Just my experience underground is what I wanted to comment, that it didn't, constriction never entered my mind. It felt like being so, not even held, but just really informed by the earth being so close, every of the way through. Yeah, it felt, it felt very spacious in the tunnelness of it, and the intimacy of it.
Yeah, when you say that, like, I actually get the sensation of, like, have you ever gone caving, and the fecundity and the smell and it's just, it feels, it's so different. It's like, it really feels like a different world. So we come through this, and the things that it's making me consider is, like, what path are you on? What path are you following? What path are you forging? What path isn't yours to take? It's like, these are all, these are all the kind of the wonderings for me. It's like, as we look at this, and then we end up discovering that, oh, we're not going anywhere. There's no there. There's no there, where, or when. I thought that was hilarious. And it's like, there was no heading to something. We're in that classic, and I actually don't know much about this symbol, but the symbol of the snake that eats its tail. Does anyone here? Is anyone fluent in that? Yes.
Yeah, it's the Ouroboros, and it has many symbologies, like in Tantra, but it's also connected to like Oceanus, and like the ocean that went around the world, or the river that went around the world. And so there's like so much from, as I mentioned, like Greek mythology to Tantra to, and it's like high energy, like, I mean, it's, and like the merging of the energies, there's so much. I went down a rabbit hole like a year and a half ago because that symbol kept coming into my life. But I also thought that was incredible that happened too. I was like, whoa. So yeah, it's a very powerful symbol.
Joy, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I looked into this a little bit because 2 classes ago, when you were having us see a symbol, I saw the Ouroboros. And so I learned that snakes, the reason we see snakes that way, one of the reasons it's a symbol, is because snakes often do swallow their own tail because they think that it's something else. And I was recently seeing a story about a California king snake, which I feel particularly an affinity to. And it was in a rescue place, and it had swallowed a full third of its body before they were able to like help him disentangle. So
wow. Okay.
There's something to that.
So I would say, like, there's so much symbology throughout this story, and if you feel like using this as a guide through this month or through this time, consider, is this one that's alive for you to listen to? And I just realized my sweater is on inside out and backwards. It's very impressive.
I love it.
Anyway, I'm like, what is that thing that I'm seeing? So all that to say that here we are in this situation where there's this following of this path. There's this being that is beautiful and attractive to follow to the darkness. There's this, all of a sudden, there's no there to go. We've come back, and now we've made this full circle. And now all the beings that were once following on this line are now in this circular position. So I'm curious, like, I could go off for a long time on just the symbology of symbols and all of that. And now we're in this great big circle, and there's this emerald that emerges out of the circle. And you're invited, the story invites you to look into the emerald and see the reflection of yourself, both as you and as the symbol of your essence. Did anyone see anything? If you want to share, you can share. You don't have to share.
That's when I saw a snake, a small water snake with the kindest face and very welcoming in that.
Beautiful.
Just the word essence provided something where like there was a falling away of all that was not that. And the being in the space with others really provided a sense of like, there are others who are up to this or who are willing to be up to this that I may not even realize. And it kind of reminded me how I timestamp my friends and like the quality of conversations I've been having lately with people, and allowing people to show up new, especially since in some cases we haven't been in each other's proximity for quite some time. It's like, you know, who are you today? Who are you in this moment? And so this willingness, a shared sense of willingness, but it also calls to mind that we don't all need to be doing at the same time. We need people who are watching and who are noticing and who can see things that we can't see when we're in it, because that's the part where, you know, if we're having the experience, we may not be able to have the angle or perspective that somebody else from outside. I mean, it's one of my favorite things about doing like corporate coaching and consulting, where it's like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but when I'm coaching doctors and nurses, it's like I can say things that, because I don't have any skin in the game as far as like how it has to be. And so I'll offer something and they'll be like, oh my God. And so I have such a value for how the essence can show up in different ways depending on our vantage point. And what gets to fall away when we befriend essence.
That was beautiful. I love hearing everyone's perspectives. For me, the emerald I continue to see it too, which is really amazing. They were the eyes of the snake. I imagined this really huge, beautiful snake with the scales, and that it was so big. It was bigger than the planet. It was that big. And the eyes were these huge emeralds that we were all looking into. And what we saw was each other in the emerald eyes. And the essence of each other was the symbol. It was essence merging. It was all of our essences merging into one. And that was like the treasure, the gem that the emerald gave us. The emeralds gave us. It was just a beautiful vision. And it's what I always see. When I look at you, I see our essences merging, like looking in the emerald eyes of the snake.
Wendy, you just gave me so many chills as you spoke about that. I was like, whoo, just,
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. I felt that a similar sort of thing. You know, there's this emerald that emerges from the circle and the many facets of the emerald. And what I saw in the essence was really essence. It was light, and you know, it's like there was a rainbow sort of essence to each of the facets. But you know, looking in and seeing that reflected back, and that sense of each facet being a part of the whole expression was really powerful. So yeah.
Thank you. Remembering that one part, which is that right before we make the turn, the circle, like the essence of our snake is known, right? It has legs, but they're not going to be expressed because there's no space in this position, you know. It has wings, but they're not to be expressed in this position. It even has like a unicorn as a Pegasus, like a unicorn horn, you know, and it's like part dragon all along the way, but this is what it is in this moment, in this expression, in this shape and form. And there's something in that. I could stay with that for a couple of hours, just that kind of piece of, we're different expressions of ourself according to our environments, you know, and there's a time and a space. And this is, and in this one, this is what this one was. The other thing that I'm just noticing is that our snake kind of left the story, right? It's our guide. Our guide was blah, 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 creating this path. And then all of a sudden it comes onto this pace of, I'm just looking at everything that Nikki put in because it's easy, you know, unity of expression of all things, material and spiritual, you know, this symbol and of allness and wholeness. And all of a sudden it's like we traveled to the center of the self. So we followed this being that brought us into the center where we could see ourselves. I just love that piece of that. It stops being about the one that you're following, and it starts being about, you know, following that one that can bring us to that place where we can see our true essence. Yeah. Well, 2022.
I think the part that was interesting was it said that it's an alchemical symbol. So the fact that from the group and the unity of the group, it was like that's when it emerged, which is like an alchemical process that happened. So I thought that was also another nuance of the symbology of the Ouroboros.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. And then there's emerald, of course, which I don't know about emerald, but it's a very powerful, potent gem, one that I feel very aligned with. And so, yeah. And then our story ends with this knowing that this space, it's like it's empty now. There's been a space beneath the earth that's been carved out by those who've made this journey. And they're not there anymore. But the space that they created still is. And we're in the knowing of that it's there and that we can call on it at any time. And the word possibility keeps coming up, you know, that there's this you know, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that part. Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that part either, but I am just reminded of a kitty cat mewing and contributing their voice in such a beautiful and persistent way. And I'm not sure at what point that happened, but just being so delighted by the companionship and kinship of that taking place. And so I don't know if that's your animal companion, Leah, or if it's a housemate's animal companion, but it was just such a delight.
That is my darling Theo. Who knows, as soon as Zoom comes on, if he harasses me, I am beholden to give him treats because he can't keep me out. They've got my number. So well done. Oh, yeah.
I'd like to ask for forgiveness for something. All of my life since this happened, I felt really awful about it. And it's come up many times, and it came up today. And I just want to be witnessed and ask for forgiveness. When my children were little and we were camping in an area where we were spending a lot of time, there was a wood pile and there was a little copperhead snake. And I was really scared because we were camping there and I let fear dominate my love of nature. And I really do love nature and all the animals and creatures. And because my children were so small and I was so aware that we were camping and playing, they were playing there, I asked my husband to kill the snake. And I feel terrible about it to this day. And I've always thought of it. And it came up today. And I just, it made me so sad. So I just wanted to share that and to ask for just to see it and hear it. And I'm just so sorry. If I could redo it, I would do it so differently. So, thank you. Thank you. And I have to also say that we have no heat, and the man that's here to fix the heat is at the door, so I'll be back.
I think we're about to hop off.
Okay.
I just want to honor you, Wendy, for that.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Thank you. Whoop.
I know you need to answer the door. It's very pressing.
But thank you. Thank you for responding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, beautiful beings, what a rich way to begin the year. She's got a little puppy. Is there anything else that wants to be said or carried across the threshold of this story?
Thank you. Thank you for being able to do this and offer this in the way that you do. It's a gift to be able to drop in for an hour or so when capacities are such that taking on a longer class isn't within reach, and just to be able to touch to what's being made available and the space that it creates for the other things that are happening in one's life is really valuable.
All right, dears. Let us unwind our story and release all that have gathered in the name of it, in the name of us, in the name of our journey. And may you carry this story forward. And it feels like a big one. This one feels personal. It feels like a big one. It feels like quite a way to enter into the world as all of you are in your different ways of service and of carving paths and of holding spaces for people to see their essence and of being those brave, bold ones who are willing to explore and look at your own. And so traveling into the center of self, I think that's going to be the name of this story. And thank you for the richness and for holding space for stories like this to come alive in our time. It wouldn't happen without you. So may it be so. May you go well into the day, into the week, into the month, into the year, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Beautiful to be here
Thank
with
you
everyone.
so much.
Yes.
What a treat. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Bye. Bye.